We'll get started here as well. And so today's webinar is around integration and action, strengthening volunteer and donor relationships. Super exciting presentation. We have some experts here today that are going to share some of their experiences leveraging both donor and volunteer data. My name is Gung. It's like gung ho. That's easier to remember. And so these are some of the places that I'm affiliated with. I just had my 10-year reunion for my MBA at Harvard Business School. It was awesome. Meeting sort of some of my old friends. A lot of chats about AI as to be expected. I'm also seeing some of our AI transcription tools popping in here as well. And then before that, in terms of my career, I spent a lot of time doing startups. These are two of my babies from before, one called Rent Jungle, another called Community Health. But I've loved doing Civic Champs for the last 7 years. Time has really flown by. And so that's a little bit about me. And then Hunter, if you want to say hi as well.
Yeah, thanks. I'm Hunter Williams. I'm the product marketing VP at Little Green Light. I've been here for about 15 years. Definitely the longest tenure job I've ever had and my favorite job ever. I get to work on product development, kind of road mapping what we will be working on to continue to improve the product. And I get to work with a lot of customers and prospective customers on how Little Green Light will work for them, which is really fun to do. I used to work at other household name companies like the Discovery Channel and Amazon.com, working hard to make Little Green Light a household name as well. So I will pass it on from here to Virginia.
All right, thanks, Hunter. Hi, everyone. My name is Virginia. I work with Little Green Light. I've been with LGL just over 10 years now. Prior to that, I worked as a fundraiser primarily in animal welfare, historic preservation, libraries, and land trusts. I also founded an all-volunteer dog rescue organization. So while I have experience as a volunteer, I also have spent a lot of time coordinating volunteers, primarily foster families for dogs looking for homes. So excited to chat with all of you today.
I'm Sarah Tatro. I'm the relationship manager for the Peninsula Trails Coalition, which is we're the stewards of the Olympic Discovery Trail. And I live on the Olympic Peninsula where I just am finishing building a house. And I lived in Portland for many years and was very involved with school funding and PTAs, and I also had a lot of corporate experience in a prior life, and I do a lot of contract work for different clients, and so some of them you'll recognize: IKEA, Earthbound Farm. Yeah, and so I love the outdoors. I moved here because of the trails, and I decided to just become a trail person. So that is where my work is these days.
Awesome. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, you'll obviously hear more from Sarah and Caitlin here in a little bit.
We have Caitlin to introduce.
Oh, yeah. Sorry.
One more slide.
Don't forget about me. Hi, my name is Caitlin, and I'm the volunteer and community engagement specialist here at Housing Hope. My previous roles, I actually served 2 years as an AmeriCorps member and did much of my career with Habitat for Humanity of Greater Los Angeles down in Los Angeles, and currently returned back to the Pacific Northwest, and I've been with Housing Hope for about 8 months now. So thanks for having me.
Yes, thanks for joining. And now, as I was saying, you'll hear more from Sarah and Caitlin here in a little bit. Of course, there are featured guests for today in terms of just talking about their experiences. Real quickly, before we dive in, though, a couple logistical points to make. People always ask. We do share the slides from our presentation to everybody. So if you're thinking about taking notes, and we'll also have a recording of today as well, right? So the presentation is about 30 to 40 minutes and then followed by Q&A. And so as you're kind of listening in, please do put any questions in the chat. We'll try to get to them live if we can, but if we can't, we'll kind of save them and make sure we circle back at the end as well. And then, of course, stay until the very end because we do have a number of very cool freebies and discounts and things like that to share with you all. And so do stay till the end. All right. So one of the things we want to do for today was make this a little bit more interactive and just get to know the audience that's here today. And so I'm going to launch a poll here. And so if folks want to just quickly answer the poll, we'll get a sense of who's here and kind of, the size of your organization, how many volunteers, how many donors do you have, and then maybe also, whether or not you're an existing user of Civic Champs or Little Green Light already. You guys can't see this, but I can see the poll in real time kind of flickering, which is kind of fun. So thank you to everyone that's already responded. Yeah, we're already up to 30 folks, 31. So we'll give folks probably about a minute here to sort of answer questions, and then we'll kind of dive in and see, review that together.
Looks good. It looks like everyone is seeing all 4 questions, so that's good.
Yeah.
Nice.
No one's skipping the last questions. So, all right, we're at 75. We'll wait till maybe we get to 80%, and we'll call it good at that point. 79. One more. And all right. Okay. All right. I'm going to end, and then I'm going to share this with everybody. So, and share results. Great. So now everyone can see the poll results. In terms of number of volunteers, it's pretty evenly split, almost a quarter each in terms of, 0 to 25, 26 to 75, 76 to 100, and 100 plus. So we kind of got a range of size of volunteer organizations. In terms of donors, this might be more of a in terms of bucketing, we may have wanted to change these to be a little bit towards the higher end here, but it looks like most folks are sort of 50 plus donors, which is great. And then 26 to 50, 11 to 25 have 7 and 4%, and then some smaller organizations in the 0 to 10 range right there. And then we have a lot of new folks to Civic Champs. So 20% of you all said you use Civic Champs already. 80% are not current users. And then we have a little bit of the inverse almost. 75% of you are Little Green Light users. And then 26% are not, right? And so that's exciting. Obviously an opportunity for Hunter and I to share a little bit more about what we do too. And so speaking of that, today's agenda, we have kind of 5 things here. And so first we'll do like a quick, couple minutes. Hunter and I just give folks a sense of what does Civic Champs do? What does Little Green Light do? Before we get into the panel, so you have some context of, what is Caitlin and Sarah, what do they actually use? And then we'll look at the integration that Civic Champs and Little Green Light has and kind of the power that provides, and maybe add a little bit color to some of maybe the panel answers that Caitlin and Sarah are giving, so you can see what they're talking about. And then we'll kind of wrap up with both Q&A and, like I said, discounts at the very end. Right. And so I'll start with Civic Champs. So we're a volunteer management platform. We help nonprofits like yourselves in terms of managing volunteers from onboarding and applications to waivers. And then, so that's on the recruiting and onboarding side, scheduling. So getting folks on the calendar, engagement, right? So making sure that people were capturing their hours, but also collecting feedback and helping to retain them. And then finally, of course, with reporting, making it easy to get the numbers that you need for your reports, but also with our integration, sharing that data back with Little Green Light as well. And so a couple slides that show just a little sense of what we look like. So this is one of our sort of event pages. So you could see it's pretty easy, the where, the when, there's a little map, and people can easily register for events on Civic Champs. We also have a mobile app, which makes us a little unique. It's actually for both volunteers and admins. What you're looking at right now is just our check-in flow. And so if you use the mobile app, we use technology like geofencing, so it makes it easy for people to check in and out. You can see, if you're here for something, you can select it, it starts a little timer, and it starts to track the volunteer time. And then one of the other unique things that we do is we collect feedback from folks. And so when people are checking out, whether that's on a kiosk or on the mobile app, you'll get feedback that you can share. And so this really helps with retention as well. And then we bring all this back with simple reporting that then syncs with Little Green Light. So we'll get into that later, but that's kind of a high-level overview of Civic Champs. Hunter?
Yeah, great. Little Green Light is really about donor management. So we are built for small and mid-sized nonprofits to help you track all the money that you're raising as part of your fundraising efforts, track all of your interactions with your contributors and prospective donors, manage relationships, and plan out all your next steps, and really kind of help with the process of running your operations. And also have insights into what's happening across your vast world of fundraising operations. So we do that on the dashboard. Like on the next slide, the dashboard shows at a glance what's happening in your account across all kinds of areas, especially fundraising. But we also have widgets like the fundraising hours, or sorry, the volunteer hours widget there. We'll get into that more. So a bunch of different ways to see what's happening in your account and who's doing what. The next slide is about the constituent view that you have. So really trying to give you a 360 view into who your donors are and what they care about, what kind of interactions you've had with them. And then the last slide that I have about Little Green Light is just highlighting some of the key areas that you would expect in a donor management system. Of course, gift tracking, also accepting online donations through our form builder. You can create donation forms, event registration forms, all kinds of forms. Those integrate tightly to your Little Green Light database. We have a lot of integrations, a lot of which we built, and then other parties like Civic Champs has also built integrations. So that's happening more and more. And then the bottom two items there, just segmenting who's in your appeal list and really sending the right message to the right person is kind of what we're trying to help you do. And we have built-in email as well as physical mail merge. So help you with all the kind of process flow of what you need to do on a regular basis. So trying to just make your life easier, and then through integrations, tapping into other areas that you are also managing. So in this case, volunteering. Right.
Awesome. And so now we'll kind of get into the meat of today with our panel discussion. And so I'm going to stop sharing my screen here, and we'll let Virginia take it over in terms of interviewing our two panelists for the day. Let me highlight you all as well, and so everyone can see you. So, all right, I'll let you take it from here.
Okay, great. Thank you. So thank you again, Sarah and Caitlin, for joining us today. We're excited to share your experiences using the integration. So just to get started, we had brief intros before, but so that we all have some good context for our panel discussion, if each of you, and maybe we can start with Sarah, if each of you can share how long you've been using LGL and Civic Champs and the integration, how many donors your organization works with, about how many volunteers you manage, and then if you can just maybe talk us through briefly the typical volunteer activities at your organization, that'll get us started.
Okay, I'll go ahead. I had to make some notes so that I could remember everything here. So we've been using Civic Champs for about 18 months, which is when I started working with the Peninsula Trails Coalition. And prior to that, they didn't really have a great system for tracking things. But 18 months is about when I came on board and implemented Civic Champs. And in LGL, we have probably over 11,000 constituents who we are regularly engaging with, just in terms of sending out emails and letters and working with them on fundraising. So in Civic Champs, I have 834 registered volunteers, and I would say that they are our general, very involved volunteers. We have a lot of volunteer work that happens along the trail. I also send out a monthly volunteer newsletter that goes to 1,200 people. Um, I send, volunteer opportunities, roles, different things like, say, you could do a job from home. Like if I need someone to track our insurance policies, for example, or just any number of items. So we have a lot of trail maintenance work that gets done, and we use LGL for tracking. They've set up a very elaborate tracking of, there's 135 miles of trail, and we have a whole system set up in LGL that is the trail adopter who's assigned to that particular segment of the trail. So that's how we track our volunteers for who has that assignment, and then using Civic Champs for utilizing check in, check out on your phone when you're out doing all of your trail maintenance. So mostly our events are trail maintenance. That's where I would say the majority of our volunteer hours are generated from. But then we also have several events. We have a large fundraiser that takes place in August called Tour to Lavender. And that requires on that particular day over 150 volunteers. So that is a big event for us, in-person event. And then we just have what I call a lot of meet and greets, and those are events that take place along the trail. If somebody's having a community event, the Dungeness River Nature Center has an event called the River Fest, and we have a table there, giving out maps and greeting people and talking about the trail. And so those are just some of our events.
Great, thank you. All right, Caitlin, same questions for you.
Yeah, and hopefully I can remember all
Yeah.
these, but just a little bit of background to Housing Hope. We are the largest affordable housing nonprofit in Snohomish County, Washington, and we really try and address all the levels that come with poverty and homelessness. So it's not just about emergency shelter, coordinated entry for housing, affordable units, or actual homes that we're building, but we also have wraparound services as well too. So we also do a lot of job training through our social enterprises, and we have a lot of childhood development programs as well. And I'm fairly new here. So like I said, I've been here about 8 months. We've been using Little Green Light, or as the cool kids call it, LGL, for a few years now. But I've been using it myself personally for about 8 months. Absolutely love it. It's super user intuitive. We actually too just switched to Civic Champs in this past January. We were using Boomerang for our volunteer data. So we've been using that integration piece for about 6 months now with LGL and Civic Champs and have absolutely loved it. On average, we have about 500 volunteers or so, give or take, per year. We are looking to increase that as well too by getting some group volunteer opportunities on our website. But specifically, our volunteer opportunities can be narrowed down to, work in our social enterprises. We have a secondhand thrift store that volunteers can come out and spend some time at. We also have some construction sites as well that are active. Like Sarah, we also host a ton of special events, tabling opportunities. We have galas as well too. So we're always looking for volunteers to help us with that. And then we also are always looking for volunteers to serve on our boards. We have about 4 boards that cover all of Snohomish County. So always looking for volunteers as well there. Let me see. Am I missing anything, Virginia?
I think just maybe how many donors, but if you don't know off the top of your head, that's fine.
Donors, I would say we're a little bit, I don't have the exact number, but we're fortunate that we have a lot of folks that donate to Housing Hope. I would say it's probably in the 1,000 to 2,000 range.
Great. All right, great. That's really helpful context as we get started. Thank you both. And I know you both mentioned a little bit about how you were managing volunteers prior to using Civic Champs. Sarah, I think you mentioned there was a system, but maybe it wasn't great. So we don't need to get into too many details, but just wondering if you could each give kind of a high-level picture of what volunteer management looked like before you started using Civic Champs.
Well, mine looked very old school, which was, if there was a trail maintenance event, there was a clipboard and there were a lot of papers, and you had to sign in, you had to sign your waiver, and then you had to record your hours. And then, someone had to go back and file the waivers and then enter all the time. And um, change can be hard. And so when we introduced Civic Champs, most everyone has a phone, um, and so I just had to give everyone the visual in terms of, okay, just think of Civic Champs as your virtual clipboard. So you're just going to log in, you're going to sign your waiver. I mean, that was a huge thing. Like, getting everyone to sign their waivers through Civic Champs is great because and it tells me if someone hasn't signed a waiver. And so I can communicate with them and say, hey, next time you log in, be sure and sign your waiver. But that was the biggest hurdle for getting people, just that mind shift as far as, okay, there's not going to be a sign in sheet. Now it's going to be, on my phone, which is actually a lot better for the volunteer work that takes place along the trail because, you're out on a trail and sometimes there's not a lot of other people or civilization around. So
Great. Thank you. Caitlin?
Yeah, I'd echo the same. There wasn't much volunteer management in regards to a system when I first came on. I would say the platform that we were using was really clunky. A lot of the volunteers came to our events frustrated, with not being able to sign in easily, not being able to find locations as well as they could. So it was really an issue for us, especially, me coming on. I felt like that was the biggest hindrance to people coming out and actually volunteering. So with the use of Civic Champs now with LGL, like Sarah was saying, it's so much easier. They can sign up. That geofencing is great. They get a little pop up on their phone. They can check in. I can also use my phone to check folks in. So it's been really wonderful. And previously we had all of our information separated out. So like I said, we were using Bloomerang. It didn't really connect with LGL. All that information was siloed into, one system. It was very hard for us to pull reports and integrate that into LGL based on the system, not LGL that we were using. So yeah, there was quite a bit of bottlenecks with the old systems that we had in
Okay.
place.
Yeah, great. And it sounds like maybe could one of you share an example? It sounds like it's helped with bottlenecks in terms of volunteer data. Um, any bottlenecks that have been alleviated by the integration in terms of donor data now that you have a fuller picture of the two?
well, I would say for me, for reporting for volunteer hours, the trail is along 13 different jurisdictions, and that includes, tribal land, counties, cities, national parks, and everybody wants to know, okay, well, how many volunteer hours were spent in my particular jurisdiction? And so prior to the integration, I would have to go to Civic Champs and download that, and then I'd have to go to LGL because from the Olympic Discovery Trail website, people can enter their volunteer hours from there. And then the third method was just writing it on the piece of paper, which then somebody had to go back and record. So now with all of the hours in one location, I can run my report in LGL and it's already pulled from Civic Champs. And slowly, we're making progress in getting, everyone to use their phones for recording hours versus having to have somebody write it down, record it, and then enter it. So it's a process. And, people are coming along though.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I would say similar to that, we do, like any nonprofit, a ton of grant reporting. So having that information segmented out in LGL, being able to pull those reports as they're coming from Civic Champs has been really helpful to kind of see, like Sarah was saying, what areas we're having the most volunteers in. What are the numbers? Have we increased it? Has it decreased? It gives us a real snapshot to see if we're growing or if we need to make some changes in our organization.
Thank you. And Sarah, another question for you. How has the integration maybe changed the ways that your organization communicates with that volunteer base that you spoke of your 800 or so active volunteers?
Well, I mean, I would say the biggest way is just being able to have the information pulled together as far as um knowing who's who in what role. And so when somebody's a volunteer and they're a donor, that's richer information that I want to know that. As the relationship manager, I want to be able to build on what's already established, and then how can I take that to the next level.
Yeah, great. And I
Yeah.
think sorry, go ahead, Caitlin.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Okay, I was gonna say, Sarah, I think in an earlier conversation, you had talked about a phone call you had with a volunteer
Ooh,
that the data
yes,
informed. And
yes,
without sharing details of that person, I wonder if you might talk a little bit about that experience you had.
I would be happy to. I We just finished a spring fundraiser, which we have never done before. And the Peninsula Trails Coalition has only ever done just end of year, fourth quarter fundraising. And for the first time this year, we did a spring fundraiser that dropped in April 28th. And then, we had a digital piece that went along with it, and we mailed out close to 7,000 letters. And what we decided to do is everyone over certain levels of donations, that I would call them. And in my phone calls, I was able to don't call the donors, but a lot of them were volunteers who I already had a relationship with, just from seeing them on the trail, or reading their feedback in Civic Champs, or their comments that they leave. And it really helped me to just talk with them on a deeper level, as far as they were really surprised. People were really surprised, first of all, that I was calling to thank them, but also too that it's Sarah, and oh, the trail girl. And so that was really fun, because they wouldn't have known that. It would have just been some random person calling to thank them for a donation, which I see a lot of value in that. But for me to be able to say, oh, so and so, it's me, and thanks for your donation, and how was your volunteering out on the trail, and did you pull a lot of Scotch broom? And it's taking that relationship to the next level.
Great. Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I just love that story you shared. Um, and Caitlin, can you share an example at your organization of either how you're currently using this new full picture of donor and volunteer data that you have access to through the integration, or maybe looking ahead, how you are thinking about using that in the future?
Yeah, absolutely. For me, the volunteer to donor pipeline is, so important, especially at a nonprofit. Volunteers come in, they give our time, but they can be our biggest donors down the road. I've seen that a lot through my work at Habitat for Humanity. And, with this integration, I think what I'm most excited to use it for is targeted asks, right? So when we have campaigns that come up, when we have solicitations, when we have huge, fundraising efforts that we're trying to raise money for, I can go into that volunteer list and see data, so I can reach out to them about, they might be really interested in, and they volunteer at one of our daycares, right? So I might plug in a story about children and what they're doing to help. They might be working at one of our construction sites, so I might target that data and put in information about, the new homes we're building coming up in 2026. So to me, using that information, what the volunteer is interested in, and then making that targeted ask, being able to do that through LGL and that Civic Champs integration is huge for me. And I think it will return a lot more donations from our volunteer base that already is integrated into our nonprofit.
Yeah, great. Thank you. It sounds like from what you've both described that having the volunteer and donor data in one place, your thinking is now more about those as a cohesive group as opposed to two disparate categories of people without overlap. Does that seem fair?
Completely.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, great. And do you have, either of you have a specific example of how a donor or volunteer relationship has been impacted through this integration?
Well, I mean, I would say that the biggest thing for me is okay, the the comments that I read from Civic Champs, like someone had a cougar sighting, and I didn't really like to read that. Um, but someone saw that, and then I also read about how there was a pipe burst. Along the trail. And that was good information because then I was able to communicate that to the city who is, right along there. That's information that when I read that in the Civic Champs and then, I go and pull information for a mailer or something, I can see that it's the same people. And people just want to be a part of something. And so knowing that they're communicating in this way, hey, I'm just wanted to let you know I found a lost dog, and here are the pictures. And then when I see their name, like even if they're just giving $5, it's a consistent give, and it's a repeated payment in LGL. And if I had those situations of they weren't together, then I wouldn't be able to recognize um their wanting to be a part of and connected to the trail. And so kind of intertwining, having both of those relationships in one place and being able to recognize, oh, that's what this person, here's the same person, and this is the time on the trail. I mean, one thing I will say that I love about Civic Champs, not just one, but of the many, I love the emojis. And I was thinking, okay, now how can LGL get the emojis in their system? I don't know if that's possible, but I do read all of the comments that are in Civic Champs. And I mean, I love to see the smiley faces that you can record in Civic Champs. But more importantly, I also want to see like the neutral or sad faces, like, okay, well, what happened that is making you feel that way? So again, the knowing people on that next level, um, those are parts that help me be able to know them, or those elements.
Great. Thank you. Yeah. Caitlin, anything to add to that, or should I move on?
No, you can go ahead and
Okay.
move on. It's
Okay.
pretty similar.
Okay, great. So those were great insights you both shared. And I know we talked about reporting a little bit at the beginning, and reporting isn't necessarily as feel good as hearing about volunteer experiences, but I think it is really important. And you both kind of touched on maybe some frustrations you felt before. So I just want to revisit the topic of reporting now, and see how you're feeling in terms of kind of moving past those limitations you may have felt before and checking in on how the integration has helped with reports that you need to run on a regular basis. And if that's saved you time, if it's something that's on your to-do list that feels like a burden, or whether it's just kind of something you know how to do and it runs as it should and you get what you need.
I mean, it's taken the thought, right? I mean, there's no work really anymore that I have to do when pulling reports. When I was using our previous system, it was so clunky, so cumbersome. It was really difficult, and it wouldn't exactly give me the data I was looking for. So then I would have to spend time sorting it, doing all this stuff. Now it just integrates seamlessly. I can pull the report either from Civic Champs or I can pull it from LGL. It's both the same, the information's the same in both sections. So it's really taken the work out of it. It's a no-brainer now for us. And someone else besides myself can go in and pull that same data. They don't need me to pull that data for them.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's really good to hear.
I would totally agree with Caitlin that it's so much easier just because I'm not the person. I get a lot of different calls and requests for things. And other folks can go into LGL and run the report now without me having to do it. Um, but oh, there was just something else I was going to add to that, but now it just left me.
Okay.
I'm sure it'll pop back in a second.
Okay, if it pops back up, you can chime in. Otherwise, I just have one kind of final question for the two of you, which is, oh, yes, it came
It
back.
came back.
Okay,
It came
great.
back. Okay. So we did our annual report. We did an annual report for 2024 for the first time. And I have to say, it was so easy to pull the volunteering hours because you can enter them through LGL from our Olympic Discovery Trail website. And then you can also, enter them on your phone. And if people need them entered because they've put it on a piece of paper, that can also be done. But to pull all the information together for the first time ever annual report in almost 40 years of having a nonprofit, it was super easy because we could do it, and I didn't have to think, okay, wait, do I have to go over here? Do I have to go over there? So it was just easy to pull that information and send it off to the folks who put it together for us.
Okay, great. That's really good to hear. And then before we move on to actually showing what the integration looks like with Hunter and Gung, I just have one last question, which is on the topic of migration, which can obviously be very intimidating. So just want to hear a little bit about what that process was like at each of your organizations in terms of moving from wherever you were before to using LGL and Civic Champs.
I mean, I have to say there was not much to do because it's just an upload into Civic Champs, and you don't even, it got added anytime there was a kink, or like say a double, a person was entered twice. I just contacted Civic Champs customer service person, and they were able to just, okay, I took care of that, it's done. It does seem like anytime, the issues are fewer and fewer. Anytime that a volunteer would have trouble logging in or recording their hours on their phone, it was because they were in the system twice, and that was our uploading things 2 times. But like I said, after a year and a half, we've kind of worked through all those issues. And then when we did the integration, I had a meeting with Gang, and uh, he did it like in 2 minutes, but I could have done it. He was, okay, this is what you do. And he's so patient and helpful, but I could have done it myself. I mean, it was so easy. And even after he said, okay, well, that's all we're going to do. And I said, that's it. I mean, it was not painful one single bit. So it was great.
Great.
Yeah, I would second that. I blocked off so much time to do the integration on my calendar, and I think it took all of 3 minutes. And I had done integrations previously through Volunteer Hub and Razor's Edge at my last affiliate, and it took us months to map it out. This was a matter of minutes. It was so easy. I was really prepared for it to take a lot longer, for there to be a lot more hiccups. And I mean, I haven't had any. So it's been a really nice change of pace. In the whole world of these systems, it was very, very easy to use and seamless.
Okay, great. Thank you both for giving us a glimpse into kind of the work that goes into getting it started. So thank you. And thank you both for being on the panel. I'm going to turn it back over to Hunter and Gung now. But thank you both.
All right, that was awesome. Thank you guys so much. I'll give these, the round of applause on my side. So there was a question already in terms of the example of the integration. So that's what we're going to dive into now with Hunter and myself. So I'm going to reshare my screen here. And let's see here. And this will give folks just a little bit of a taste of, of kind of in real time, what the integrations look like, right? And so we had some slides prepared as well in case this didn't go as well, but I think this will work. So you're going to see this live here. And so this is Civic Champ on the back end for administrators like yourself. And so you can see this is our event calendar. And so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you how somebody might log time on Civic Champs, and then we'll show you how quickly that information gets passed over to Little Green Light. And so this is our event calendar. I'm going to pick this event from today. One of our really popular options is we have a kiosk, and so you can put this on an iPad or like a laptop. You heard a lot about our mobile app as well, but this is another way that someone could log their time, right? And so if you're here, and let's say your name is Jeremy, Jeremy Marcus in this case, right? You find yourself, you hit check in. Jeremy has a couple waivers that he has to do, and so he's going to agree to the waivers while he's here. And now he's checked in. Super quick, right? At the end of the day, Jeremy's going to check out and say, I'm done for the day. Hit checkout, select what he did, and then this is those reflections that people are talking about. So totally optional. You don't have to leave anything. But let's say, we say, thank you so much to Sarah and Caitlin. You guys are awesome, right? There you go. So checking out right there, right? And so let's go back into the admin page, and you can see where that data goes. All right, so here we'll see that Jeremy, right? Here's the entry here, right? Jeremy was at Coming Home Ministries doing sorting, checked in at this time, had this little reflection. You can see the emoticons that was mentioned earlier by Sarah, but we see that it's 0 hours, right? So that's not correct. We know that Jeremy was actually here for longer, and so we can quickly change that to 3 hours, right? And so that 3 hours is connected. And so here is where you can see this information go over to Little Green Light, right? And so in Little Green Light, then to the point made earlier, the integration is super quick, right? All you got to do is you go to integration settings on Little Green Light. You find us here, nice and easy. And all you do is you copy this link here, and you paste it in integrations right here. And that's it. And it's all live. That's it. So super, super quick and easy. And so once we have that done, then we have the option, you don't have to, but a lot of people do, is to review the information that comes over before you accept it in Little Green Light. And so here we have the integration queue, and you'll see here, Jeremy Marcus right at the top, right? That information. And so if I say show full records, you could see all of the information that came over with the integration. You'll notice that the hours actually says 3 hours, right? Which is the edit that we made, right? So it's instantaneous more or less in terms of how quick that integration goes. Right? You can see the comment, right? Thank you so much to Sarah and Caitlin. You guys are awesome. And then you can save or reject this record. The other thing I love is that, you can actually change who this data is linked to, right? So maybe and a good example is you might have a family, and instead of having every person in Little Green Light on your donor side with different records, you might have just, in my case, the Wong family or the Rose family, and you could say, hey, actually sync this Civic Champs data to the family account, right? So you could say, I'm just going to use, right? And you could say, hey, show me, search for this. And you say, okay, actually, I want to select this instead. So now it's going to sync to this account instead, right? But in this case, we'll actually just keep it with Jeremy, and we'll hit save. And so now if we go to Jeremy's profile, you can see the information right here as well. We also, if they're new, we sync over things like their address, their phone number, their email. But there's this cool volunteering tile right here. It has a Civic Champs ID. If you click on it, it actually deep links you back into Civic Champs, into our profile there. Gives you the total hours. And at the very bottom, you can actually see in line with gifts the volunteer time, right? So here's the volunteering, here's the gifts and donations. Right? Hunter, I'll turn it over to talk more about like reporting and whatnot.
Yeah, I'll let you drive, but I'll talk here. If you want to just click the home link to go back to the dashboard, On this account, we placed the volunteer hours widget in that top left spot. You can move things around on your dashboard and put the things that matter most to you at the top. One thing about these widgets is they update automatically every night. But in a case like what we just went through where new data got added very recently, you can click that refresh link and it'll instantly update all the data to include whatever is in your account at the moment. So that's a handy thing to remind people of. We sometimes get questions in the queue asking, how come the data doesn't have this? And if it's within 24 hours, just click that refresh link. So that's really handy, I think, to be able to see quickly on your dashboard your totals for the current year, and you can go back 2 years as well. And then I would maybe go to the activity volunteering area. Little Green Light is largely built around constituents, but you can also see the data broken down by the type of entry that you have. So in this case, it's volunteering. This is opening to all of our volunteering throughout all of time, but we could scroll down and pick just the current year if we want to see what do we have going on so far this year. Everything is summarized in the top left there in that filter list. You can see the categories and the total entries, count of entries, and the hours totaled up there. So again, everything kind of at your fingertips and very visual. And then the last thing I wanted to show, if you could go to home and then drop down to reports. Reports are incredibly powerful in Little Green Light, especially if you're building reports that are going to generate spreadsheets, because you have so much flexibility in what you can do. I created one here called Gave Time or Money in 24 or 25. So the idea being, I want that full view into my contributors, whether it's money, time, or both, and who's doing what. So Gung just hit the preview just to pull that up. This report is not a pre-built report, but it takes just a minute to pull it together, and then you can save it as a report and run it anytime. You can also schedule reports to run, and so you could run them every week or daily or monthly, and share that with anyone else who's using your Little Green Light account. So if you have an ED that you need to share this report with, you can do that. So yeah, I like this report as a visual that shows the volunteering and the giving data side by side. And from here, you could pull this into Excel and do all kinds of sorting or summing that you want to take it further. So yeah, I think that is a good kind of run through of the integration and some of the benefits of having that volunteering data right there in your CRM alongside your giving data.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you can imagine you can pull reports that's, for running a custom campaign, right? Of, show me everyone that's done X hours but hasn't donated, or maybe they have donated, and we're going to call them our super supporters. And so there's a lot of cool power that you get through the integration. If you're really advanced, one of my favorite things about LGL is that you can even further customize that integration. I always advise people, if they want to do that, to talk to LGL first, but you can trigger additional actions from the integration as well. And they make that relatively easy to do if you know how to get things set up. So that's pretty awesome too.
Yeah, very cool.
And so here, yeah, I think there was a couple questions in the Q&A or in the comment section, and so we can kind of circle back to that. And so let me stop sharing again. Yeah, so I think one of the questions I saw, or actually, Virginia, I'll let you kind of take on the MC role again.
Okay, so one question, I think, as Sarah was sharing her experience, she talked about those comments at checkout that she really enjoys seeing and the emojis. And the question is whether those comments are mandatory, or can someone check out and skip that part of giving comments at that time?
You don't have to give a comment. I mean, it's totally up to you. I have some volunteers who always do an emoji and always leave a comment. And you don't have to. It's not, like the little red asterisk isn't there where you have to do that before you can check out. But one other thing I was going to add that I do with Civic Champs is like we did the volunteer start line of the North Olympic Discovery Marathon on Sunday, and it started at 5:30. People had to be there, and not everyone checked in. But I could go in on Monday and look at Civic Champs and say, okay, all my volunteers, I know they were all there because I communicated with them, but then I was able to go back and check them all in myself, which I didn't add that. And that is really huge because before people would be calling me or saying, well, how do I do this? And it's super helpful. And then I also always send a thank you note after, which I can message directly to the volunteers from the Civic Champs platform. Okay.
Great, thank you. Another question is, can you lock volunteer events so that only admins can check in or out volunteers?
Yes, there's some specifics around that, right? But we have different types of events. Some are, you can call them private events, and it those will have restrictions on, in terms of whether you can use the mobile app to check in, for example. We can make it so that there's no geofencing, and there's restrictions on groups, right? So you could say only this certain group of folks can sign up for these events, and so you can have different restrictions and levels. So I don't know, Caitlin or Sarah, if there's anything you'd add to that.
I have used that because I give people the opportunity to register for an event. You get the first choice to volunteer with your friends. Because we have some volunteers who want to be at the same lavender farm every single year. And so I mark it as private and let them know that you can register for this event with your friends. And then I can and change it to public so that then after people, have registered who have helped before, then it's open to everyone. And the other thing is for our board members, I have a private group for them in Civic Champs because I don't want everyone recording their time as, hey, I'm on the board and here's all my hours. So you have to be in that private group. And again, super easy to enter that or change that listing.
Great, thanks. And then one other question, I think mostly focused on whether you use or whether Civic Champs can be used not just for volunteer check-ins, but also maybe for volunteer orientation events.
I mean, I would say you could use it for whatever you want to use it for. One thing that I have found after, repeating it, doing events from last year, and now I'm doing them again this year, is that I have learned I always add an event lead, even when I have people who say, oh, we only need 4 volunteers. Well, I may say, okay, we need 4 volunteers, but then whoever's requesting the event, I always list them as the event lead, so that way they're getting all of the communication because Civic Champs sends an automatic reminder, which I love, to all the volunteers. But then the event lead knows, okay, this is when I need to be there, and they're getting all the same communication versus I didn't always do that. And then also people want to know who's in charge. Like when they show up at an event, they want to say, well, where's Sarah? I thought Sarah was in charge, but I'm not in charge of everything and I don't want to be. So I always like to add an event lead. And that was not something, that was a rookie move that I didn't add that. And now I've kind of gotten the hang of that. So that would be another suggestion that in using, you can have as many roles or, shifts or whatever in Civic Champs. It's very easy to set up. That's why, for an orientation, I would use it for that. I mean, I use it for everything. But I always add a lead person and it's not me.
Thank you. Well, those are all the questions we have at this time from the audience.
Awesome. Yeah, and it's good timing. We're at 1:57, so we try to wrap things up on time as well. And so, yeah, I'm just resharing my screen. So we'll share these slides again with everybody. But if you want to stay in touch with myself or Hunter, here's kind of our contact information. I do try to post on LinkedIn every so often about things I see. We have a newsletter, things like that around volunteerism. And then we always look for feedback from folks. And so if you have a chance to share your feedback, that'd be great. We'll put that here in chat as well. And so you can say whether you like the session, you didn't like the session, you want to hear about different sessions. So thank you, Virginia, for putting the link in there. And then last but not least, we promised you some discounts. And so we do. This is exclusive only for Little Green Light customers. We did a discount last year at the launch. That was 18 months ago. There's been no discounts since then. And we're going to restrict this for the next couple of months here as well. But if you're a new customer or you're an LGL customer and you're new to Civic Champs, we're going to offer 20%, 25% off across the board. So whether you're signing up for 1, 2, or 3 years, that'll apply for any contract duration as well. And you can book a demo right here. There's also a little QR link. So if you want to use your phone to take a picture, that works too. And then LGL discount. So if you don't have LGL and you're a Civic Champs customer, you can use Civic Champs in the referral code. I guess technically they don't have to be a customer of ours. They could just use the referral code. But ideally you are.
Don't tell them.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah, we'll keep it to yourself. Keep it to yourself. Right. That's right. But yeah, we really appreciate everyone joining us today. Hopefully this was of value. If you have additional questions, feel free to follow up with us. I won't speak for Caitlin or Sarah if they're willing to be followed up with, but I saw some nods. So you can get the unfiltered direct truth from actual users in that case if you reach out to them. So with that, we're right at 2 o'clock. Thank you, everybody. We'll send out the slides and the